or anything?
Uh, no, no, we don't, it's complete, I'm sure up at Bill's Way, it's fine because there's no evidence of it here at all. Not even any wind, nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where are you?
But
Hmm.
but
Where
where
do you
where
live?
are you? But
Oh, hi,
Peggy,
Dan.
hi John, hi John, hi
Where do,
hi
oh,
everyone. But
Peggy, where do
Peggy,
you
where
live?
Peggy, where do you live?
Santa Barbara.
And Bill, what about, are you safe? Eh,
Yeah, I'm 30 miles north of Peggy in the San Ynez Valley. We neither Santa Barbara nor San Ynez received any smoke, but we do have seven CAL FIRE helicopters parked at our airport because of the high winds in Ventura and Santa Barbara. They're pre-positioning equipment in case a fire breaks out. Uh,
Wow.
so
What
Is
what
there
I
any,
always think about is what do people take with them? Like if you have an hour to pack, what do you take? I mean, you guys have been thinking about it, Bill and Peggy. What do you take?
the
Oh, papers,
dog?
flashlight, jewelry,
Hmm.
photo albums,
Oh yes.
I don't know. Where are you, Danny? Aren't you down there somewhere?
Oh no,
Berkeley.
no, I live in Berkeley, but
Oh, oh,
just okay, but my son and anyway, everyone's okay, but
Your
my
mom's in LA, right?
yeah, and she's
Where,
okay. She's right near the 405, so she did get like being prepared to evacuate, but she didn't have to yet. But my son had to evacuate and my nephews, and then my cousin lost his house in the Palisades. His son lost his house in the Palisades. His daughter lost her house in the Palisades, and then they went to her husband's mother's house because they had to evacuate to in Pasadena and or Altadena, and then they had to evacuate because his mother's house burned down. So I, yeah, but they're all safe. Physically they're all safe, but they lost their homes and all their possessions. And then I was thinking about what Gay just asked. What would I bring? And yeah, Peggy, you're right. Photographs and important documents. And what else would I bring?
flashlight,
A flashlight. Oh,
like
one of those great
phone cord.
or yes. Um,
Kathy.
yeah. Hi, Kathy.
um, Danny, before,
I had to evacuate, so I can tell you what I took.
okay, tell us.
Okay.
Okay. Um, I took important personal papers like my birth certificate and things like that.
Passport,
I took my
deed.
pass. I took my computer and I took some clothes and I took my jewelry and what else? Uh, I took two pairs of blue sneakers. I mean, it's amazing you when you're in a panic mode, um, you can remember the most important things, but then when it comes to a little bit less important things like clothes, I just was throwing things in. I took two nightgowns. I mean, what was I thinking? Anyway, I was one of the lucky ones who was able to come home to my house intact after 5 days.
Which
And
is where? Where where
Where?
where are you?
I'm 5 blocks south of San Vicente in Santa Monica, in the second block off the bluffs. So,
Oh,
yeah.
But
So,
but but Kathy, so now you're back home and everything is okay?
everything's okay. I have a lot of air purifiers. I have 4 air purifiers going. And another one was actually delivered last night because as much as the sky is blue above, everything that I'm aware of is that there's a lot of poisons in the air. So I just want to make sure that I, protect myself, especially since I'm going on the jazz cruise for the 22nd year in a row next week. So
I have to leave right away.
Kathy, do you wear that N95 mask when you go out?
What you want.
absolutely, yeah. And
Okay.
that's another thing I took. I took masks, and obviously my keys, and I was lucky enough, to have time to get in my car. And so I had my car. But I mean, I came back in and I happen to have a very, very, very valuable piece of art. And I managed to get that off the wall and into my car. So, anything I could think of that would be just a horrible blow. But of course, everything is a thing except our life.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, reading the LA Times today, which I really wasn't thinking about, all the people the housekeepers, the bus drivers, the gardeners, the plumbers, everybody that worked on these houses in Palisades they're all out of work. I mean, that was their livelihood. They'd maybe go clean a house one day and the next day another one, a neighbor's house, and all the houses are gone. So there's so many people without anything. They're not getting any money aside from the people that lost their homes. I mean, it's really horrific.
So we have one person here, Peggy, who's a billionaire. He had a house in Pacific Palisades. He owns 12 airplanes and a couple of helicopters. They evacuated and came up here to their second house, and they used the helicopter to send the housekeepers and nannies back and forth every day.
That's nice if you have that, huh? Wow.
Gosh.
And so did he lose his house?
No, apparently he did not, but you can't go back in there now.
yeah, you can't get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still have National Guard at the top of my street, and they won't let cars down to where I am. So I think what they're trying to do right now is to keep the
Loaders.
roads clear in case there's another ember that comes and starts fires again.
And they're guarding against looters, I understand.
That's
Well,
a big,
looters too, absolutely. Yeah, there's, but I think for the most part, what they're trying to do is to keep the roads open in case
Hmm.
cars need to get, and trucks, fire trucks and equipment need to get in.
So there's so many people, 180,000, how many people had to evacuate? Does anybody know the exact amount? Where do you go? Like Kathy, where did you go when you evacuated?
I'm very, very lucky that my kids live out of this, out of the area, but not that far. So I was with them during that. But my neighbor, who is a transplant from Seattle, because her work took her here, she has 5 children. They had no place to go. No place to go. So I mean, you go and I don't really know where she went, but I kept in touch with her and she said she found a place to stay. So
hotels are up like 100%. There's no vacancies anywhere. Rentals, I mean, it's really tough to get a spot anywhere, I think, other than family.
Danny, where did your people go?
Oh, well, my son is in Long Beach and the other nephew's in, what is it, Playa del Rey? Where, and yeah, and oh, and then just with other relatives. So they're lucky, they're fortunate. But you're right, all these lower income people who lost everything don't have the resources, and
For the
I
mental.
don't, it's just so sad. And I don't know, I don't know where they'll go.
NPR said that 70% of the million homeless in LA live outside. Only maybe less than 30% live in shelters. So where do the homeless go? The unhoused. That's another layer of this whole tragedy. And then the Republicans are talking about there has to be some kind of quid pro quo. We'll give you money if you do something socially correct. Bill, you have any idea what they're asking for?
They haven't specified, but I think it's a good idea. The state has been mismanaged from a fire prevention standpoint and from water accessibility. You have leadership that is more concerned about DEI and CRT, and their priorities are out of whack, and therefore you get disasters like this.
So you're not
Okay,
blaming it
but
on climate change, you're blaming it on Newsom?
I took a botany class when I got out of uni, and the chaparral in the Santa Monica Mountains is the second most volatile in the world, Australia being first, where you have a similar climate. It's basically greasewood. It will explode with enough heat. And for centuries, those mountains have burned on an average every 30 years until it got developed, and there was, more fire control. Now we're back to what we saw in the 1800s, 4,000 acres a year, pretty standard. So this has been known for decades that this is a volatile area, and the leadership has done nothing to prevent a disaster like this.
What would you have them do?
Well, first, I think one, you don't let people build up to the most volatile vegetation in the world. You create a safe space. Secondly, you have controlled burns. Thirdly, besides controlled burns, you can take out a lot of the vegetation that is around the home areas. Um, we had inadequate reservoir supplies, plus the fact that one reservoir was totally offline, has been for a year, and there were 1 million gallons of water there. I mean, I will admit that when you get 70 to 100-mile-an-hour winds, it's almost impossible to stop a fire like this. But my
Right.
point being that there was inadequate prevention. You've got 100 fire engines that are in for repairs that were unable to be deployed. It took 45 minutes for the fire department to get up to the Palisades where this fire started, uh, due to lack of equipment and other incidents that they were covering. So, I mean, there's a series of errors here, a lot of which leads right back to poor leadership from the governor to the mayor to let me show you an example. The head of Department of Water and Power, uh, her predecessor made 400,000 a year. They recruited her, and she makes 750,000 a year. I think it's six of her lieutenants, which are paid a salary of 175,000 to 200,000 a year, all claimed overtime in the range of 200 to $600,000 last year. Where do where would you find an employer who pays you $200,000 a year and give you triple that amount in overtime? I mean, that is total mismanagement. And there you're allocating funds to that, you're allocating funds to DEI, CRT, and you're setting priorities that have nothing to do about providing good water, good electricity, and good fire prevention. So that I'm off my soapbox.
No, I appreciate it. Danny, you got anything to add?
oh no, no, I appreciate it too. Oh, no, I just anyway, all I was going to say was that I don't think we should make Bill a a,
To
a
make Bill our
spokesperson,
MAGA
a
supporter.
spokesperson for the whole Republican Party,
Why not?
and then pick on him, or
You're not being picked on.
Oh,
You get to
I love it. I love
hear
it.
it.
oh, okay, okay,
Bring it
okay.
on. Bring it on.
Okay, okay,
I only deal in facts, not emotion.
okay.
Fair
Yay,
enough.
I wanted to say that if anybody needs a refuge, they're welcome to come here. I know it's a long way, but I would be happy.
Where are you?
Anybody in north of Seattle, in Anacortes, Washington.
It's
But
beautiful.
it is beautiful,
And it's green.
but
Plenty of water.
it's a long way, but it's drivable, and I'd be happy for anybody that needs it.
Oh, that's really, really nice of you. That's really a wonderful gesture, Jackie. But I want to stay at either Peggy's or Kathy's. As it-
Is anybody still in the
it's closer to
Palisades?
my mom.
Is anybody still in the Palisades? Was anyone still living in the Palisades? Besides
No.
relatives?
The only person I know was Judy Hirsch, who was a year behind us. And she had a house across the street from the Palisades High School, which was, I guess, survived pretty well, not totally. And she and about 4 other houses did not burn down. And they think what happened is when the initial firefighting airplanes came in, they probably sprayed her house by accident. And
Oh,
that probably saved it. Yeah.
Great.
But when you look at the aerials, I mean, there's hardly a house standing in the avenue streets. It's really sad.
And tell us about your experience with the fire and your office and your home.
Well, I could see the flames from both office and home. We have a daughter that is married and lives in France and has a new little baby, and they came to visit, and we've only seen them once because they hightailed it up to Oxnard just to keep the baby's lungs from getting damaged. My school, fortunately, is still standing. My house is just fine. We're south of the area that was hit, and but I'm telling you, I have so many students' families that have lost their homes. It's hard to keep from tearing up here, but a lot of friends have
And
lost their homes.
Where are
And
they
I know
staying? We don't understand where people.
well, fortunately, a lot of the people who lost their homes in Pacific Palisades are fairly well off, and they've been handling it incredibly well, most of them, because they have the wherewithal to immediately find an Airbnb somewhere for their household. We've loaned musical instruments, pianos, violins, cellos so far to people who've lost them. And we've offered group classes for children at no cost who's lost their home, just to get them have some kind of normalcy. And I've carried on with all of our music programs, which is I've had so many people thank us for staying open during the time because they need some kind of normalcy and positivity in their lives, and so music supplies that big time. What was I going to say? And there's one family that I don't know if any of you know this family, but I just read about it last night. I could hardly sleep. One of my friends, they were away during the fire and they lost their home. But prior to that, about a week before that, their second child, they have 3 children. The first one died about 8 years ago, and the second one died on the 2nd of January through suicide. So, I mean, talk about
Oh,
horrible, horrible thing, you know. So I'm trying to stay positive, but there's so much negative going on around me. Um, it's hard. It's just hard. It's
What
hard.
do
It's
you have
hard.
to?
I think it just is hard not to have lost your house. Well, I mean, I
um,
can't say that. It's just
Survivor's guilt.
there's so many people that I know that have, you know, that I'm there for so many people. It's just destroying me. Yeah.
You had to evacuate, right?
No, I
You saw
didn't. But
flames. You didn't have to evacuate.
oh yeah, we saw they were that's huge that you could see them. I mean, bright red, orange things. Yeah, I can send you photos from my school. Yeah, it was just totally frightening, you know. So,
A friend of mine in Santa Monica said the winds were frightening. You know, if 70, 80 miles of winds, that's really scary.
yeah, we had an outdoor kind of a canopy thing completely blow over, you know, just you know, and one window got beaten up. The glass is missing, but who cares? You know, I mean, compared to what other people. My best friend who lives in Manville Canyon has been biting fingernails about Manville Canyon going down, but they were very serious about Manville Canyon, if you know where that is, because it's kind of like the borderline. If that fire goes over the canyon to the other side on the east side, you know, look out. I mean, so they
Yeah,
really, you know, taken
that,
their they've
that's where
thrown pink whatever it is, the retardant,
Retardant, yeah.
yeah, all over that area, and I think it's been saved. And my friend had a cat or has a cat named Yo-Yo who's been left behind, and there's this really nice policeman that's up there all the time, and he is tending to 5 different houses worth of feeding animals that have been left behind.
Oh,
Bless his heart, you know.
oh.
Yeah.
Um, and we were talking before you popped on about what people take. I'm sure you thought about what you would take if you did have to evacuate.
Well, yeah, I suppose I have all my serious stuff together, you know, and I've got pictures of it in my, you know, all the documents and stuff in my cell phone, so that's good. And I guess pictures would be the next thing I would think of because you can't replace those. Except nowadays, a lot of it is again in the cloud on this thing, so thank goodness for that. So I'm not sure what else I'd take. You know, it's just stuff. It is stuff, and I have so much stuff, and the older I get, I realize that I don't need any of it practically. You know, to, it just it's just stuff, right?
Yeah,
And you can't take it with you, and you want your kids to have some of it, but it's just stuff.
right.
yeah.
Henry, you're in the Hollywood Hills,
I'm right at the base of the Hollywood Hills, right where the Sunset Fire was.
and what did you experience?
I left to go to the biggest AA meeting in the world in Culver City, and I could see the flames shooting up 20 or 50 feet ridge on the top of the mountain headed my way, and I just left. And my brother called me after I left. He said, "You should make a go bag." I said, "Too late. I'm already, you know, I'm just, I'm not driving right now." And my son just came in and told me that he brought the car back from his brother in San Diego and parked it on the street, and somebody ran into it and totaled it.
Oh
And
gosh.
they got a video of it. It's a $200,000 car, so there's probably about $80,000 worth of damage to it
Oh my
with
God.
no insurance because he just brought it back and was going to take care of that later. Well, there will not be a later.
Well, so is where you live untouched by the fire?
Yeah, they kept it from reaching Sunset Boulevard.
Hmm. Um, and do you have friends who had to leave?
Oh, we had to leave.
Yeah, you were evacuated.
Well, I was already on the way to cover. I left. Just I wasn't sure whether I'd be able to come back home, but there was no problem, and everything's fine here except for the
What's the air quality like?
smelled like smoke, and there was ashes all over my balcony, but not for the last 3 or 4 days.
Mm.
Yeah, that's the thing is that it was very smoky and huge ash bits all over the lawn, front lawn and everything. But now there's none of that. But they say that even if you don't smell smoke, the residue and the residuals that are floating in the air that you can't smell are equally terrible for you. And
They're
so
so tiny.
you need to wear a good mask right now if you're
Yeah,
going to spend any
95.
time outside.
Are
Mhm.
you doing that?
I haven't been spending very much time outside, to tell you the truth. I just tried to stay inside most of the time because I have lungs that are what my doctor said remodeled because I've had so many allergies and coughing spells. I've had pneumonia twice. So my lungs are compromised. Let's just say that, and they call it remodeling, where your lungs do this weird thing. So I'm just staying inside as much as I can, frankly,
Mm, mm, mm,
right
mm.
now.
Anybody there?
Bill, quick Chico question. I read where the Bidwell house burned down. Was
Yes.
it in the Bidwell Park or was that outside the park?
The Bidwell Mansion was built in the 1860s, and it's like the trademark of Chico. The Bidwell people were the ones, the European settlers who built the house, and he was an agriculture lover, so he introduced a lot of the trees, the crop trees that are around Chico, which is the almond capital of the world. And the guy, it was Arson. The guy came at like 3 in the morning, and he's gonna get enhanced sentencing because he used an accelerant. So he was serious. He was a math major at Chico State, was in a master's program in math. And I heard an interview this morning that I think he was making a statement against Bidwell, who was accused of being a racist and mistreating the Machupta indigenous people here. But the interview that I heard was a guy who wrote a book about John Bidwell, and he said no, he was really progressive for his time, and he stood up for the suffrage for women and for rights for former slaves and whatever. So it looks like this guy deliberately said it to make some kind of stupid, non-political, political message.
Was that house located in the Bidwell Park or outside of the park?
Inside, it's the heart of downtown Chico.
Okay, got you.
It's right next to the university. So
Right.
there's Chico State, and then there's a creek, and then Bidwell Mansion. It's
Gotcha.
on one of the two main streets in Chico. And I don't know that they're going to rebuild it. So I think that's some kind of controversy. Can you rebuild something that was made in 1860s?
Yeah.
Personally, when I was little, someone gave me a 1909 German porcelain doll, and I was really tickled because Bidwell Mansion said they would take the doll. So I don't know if she was in storage because they were remodeling Bidwell Mansions. So selfishly, I hope my doll survived.
But
Um, yeah.
speaking of surviving things, John Lee's. Well, here's what I was going to ask John. See, my older son is an artist like John,
Mm.
but not as famous as John. But yes, yes, not as famous as John. But anyway, this is so horrible. A lot of artists lost their paintings, their work, 30 years, 40 years of work.
Yeah.
Uh, and so John, is there any way that, no, like, no, you just have to take a photograph of your painting, I
This
guess.
is the subject somebody, Gail, you mentioned your porcelain doll. So I was thinking on the subject of selfishness, which is my best subject. Ruth and I both have all our work here. I mean, I'm in the hard copy. We're in the hard copy business. I mean, I keep thinking because I have woods around me, and I mean, I kept thinking if the house burned down,
Gosh.
would it be like I never existed?
No, because you got photographs of all of it, right?
Yeah, but I don't. Oh yeah, I've got things going back and stuff. But I mean, and I had so much stuff returned from my gallery, and then Ruth has so much stuff. I keep thinking about that all the time, even before this fire. Certainly, I did. And yeah, that's where. Yeah, it's all stuff, but my stuff is, it's like it's my music, but it exists as physical things.
So you have to hope that a lot of people buy your work and it's scattered around the world.
I have always felt that way. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, just
have a big sale right now, John. Sell all your work.
okay. All right, Danny, I'll take your check, but I prefer the cash.
Kathy, tell us about your backdrop. Is that Vail? That ain't in LA, is it? Wait, you're muted, dear.
You're
That's at the end of my street, 2 blocks from me on a very clear day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so you have a view of the ocean.
Yeah.
Ah, fabulous, fabulous. Is your neighborhood like parts of it burnt, or is your neighborhood intact?
I'm south of San Vicente in Santa Monica, and the fire stopped 1 block north of San Vicente.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why I mean, it was nerve-wracking, I'm gonna say, for a few days, but I to say I'm grateful is it's not enough, you know. Uh, it's just I don't know. There are no words. I'm sorry.
Mm. Another problem, it seems to me, and then they had the same problem in the Paradise Fire near Chico in 2018, is that parts of it get so devastated and black, it's like you don't want to go back to that place. It's where you have the trees and the nature, and then it's just like a burial ground or a war ground. You don't want to go. And so I think I've heard on the news a lot of people in LA are debating whether they want to rebuild.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I can't imagine.
Unfortunately, it's just
Yeah, in a house that survived with everything burned around it.
Yeah.
It would be horrible. You'd be thankful to have your house, but I wouldn't want to live there, and it would be so still, everything would be so full of smoke. And
That's the way it was in 1961 with the fire that we had in Brentwood. It burned down
air fire.
the whole neighborhood except our house and the one next door.
But you
We
went
didn't-
back to it?
What do you mean back to it? We didn't have to rebuild. Ours did not burn, only the neighborhood.
Mm.
but did you live there with all that burn around you?
It was kind of nice not having any neighbors.
Oh,
It was a lot more peaceful and quiet for 2 years.
Bill, can I ask you a question, Bill? Do you? I completely concur with you on having built in areas near the chaparral, too near the chaparral, and having allowed development there, would there be any way, do you think, to just for the city or for the county or for the state to just say to people where the fire started up way north in Pacific Palisades, this area will not be rebuilt?
Um, that's a possibility, and some people are speculating about an incident that happened in Colorado that burned several hundred houses. And the city came back and said, well, you have to do all electric, solar on the roof, all these provisions that you find in, these so-called green acts. And they finally end up getting sued because there was not enough electrical energy in the grid to build all electric homes. So some people are speculating that in LA, you may see a similar type of imposition. Uh, uh, if you take Florida, for example, if you rebuild down there now, you build with concrete so that the hurricanes can't blow your house down. So should everyone that's near the fire area rebuild in concrete? I mean, that to me, that's a question. And I think a very legitimate thing to explore.
Or maybe asbestos.
Oh, that is funny.
The mayor, Karen Bass, got criticized for not being hands-on enough. Is that a fair criticism or not?
Well, when she took
Unfair.
Yeah, when she took office, she said she would never travel internationally. When she left
Oh, she
LA,
did.
there were already high wind warnings, and there were warnings out that you had the potential for fire. Why the mayor of LA should go to the swearing in of the, was it president of Ghana, I think, doesn't make a lot of sense, even though while she was in the House of Representatives, Africa was one of her portfolio assignments. But she broke her promise. I think if you saw the interview with her after she got off the airplane for 2 minutes with I think the guy from Daily Mail or was on TV, she sat there for 2 minutes staring out the window and would not respond to him. So that tells me she has no business being in a position like that, handling any type of emergency when you can't think about how you respond to a reporter's question when you've had a devastating fire like that with all those people killed and houses burned down.
The damage was already done before she left. There was a reservoir with no water in it. The firemen up there went up to the fire hydrants and there was no water pressure and no water.
Yeah. So I heard an interesting thing this morning. Someone who went back into her background in the 1980s, she belonged to, and I forget the name of the group, but it was a communist group who set off a bomb in Washington, D.C. And I don't know if any people were killed or not, but this person was making the claim that maybe she still has communist leanings. And if that's the case, you might see her try and impose some type of reform on the land that would be more communistic than capitalistic. That's a lot of speculation, but it's an
Are you
interesting background for the
saying that
mayor.
all communists are terrorists?
Pardon?
Are you saying that all communists are
No,
terrorists?
no, this group was communist in nature. It was a communist terrorist group, but not all communists are terrorists.
Well, that's what I wanted to distinguish between here.
Yeah.
And you had an impression of the mayor?
Well, I didn't know what, before Bill said anything, I didn't know that she had said she wouldn't go anywhere out of the country while she was mayor. Most mayors do go out of the country for very, very special occasions that demand some kind of representation from the United States. And since she was uh, specializing in African affairs at one time, it seemed logical that she should go. But I don't know the timing of everything. I'm not willing to speak out in her behalf for that. But as far as the reservoirs are concerned, somebody has said that the reservoirs being empty had nothing to do with the fire hydrants, but the fact that the fire was of such a
There's no
huge
water
area.
in the
Got the
reservoir. Where's the
fire.
water come from when you turn the hydrant on? When there's
I'm
no
sorry.
when there's no water there in the reservoir, where's it supposed to come from when you turn the hydrant on?
It comes from the rest of the city's resources, I'm imagining. But
Well,
whenever you turn on a whole bunch of things, even in your house, if we water the front lawn and the back lawn at the same time, the water pressure is going to decrease. So if you're saying if
there
you
were
have
also
all these different
there were
hydrants
there were
going at
electrical
the same
there
time,
were
there's a lower
electrical
pressure.
pumps were not working either.
Talking over me.
Yeah, that's because there were electrical power failures. The pumps weren't working, so the firemen had no water because of no electricity and no water in the reservoir. They were fighting fires with no water.
Can't hear you, Daniel. Danny.
It's back to what Bill, thank you, was saying about unpreparedness and mismanagement. See, I live up here. I don't know anything about LA and LA politics. Um, but, well, wait. No, I shouldn't. Here. Okay, well, here. Bill is so strong, he can take it. But see, okay, and this is apples and oranges, so I admit this is just dumb. But Bill, this cabinet, what is his name? The one for uh national security who has alcohol problems and sexual,
Hegseth.
He
yeah.
heads that, the
Makes sense.
defense, Department
Okay.
of
Not
Defense.
it's Department of Defense, not National
Oh,
Security.
okay, yeah.
They're,
Yeah, your
they're
defense.
synonymous, really.
But so this person, in my opinion, is extremely unqualified because of who he is.
And his lack of experience and the management for the vets groups of groups under 100, they kicked him out because of his drinking and mismanagement of funds. Hello, is that who you want to manage our defense with 3 million employees? No,
Do you believe in redemption?
no. I believe in, I don't.
Well,
Because it's easy to say I'm a changed person. I'll give up drinking if you put me in office. He wouldn't say I'll quit if I drink when I'm office. He
he
no.
did say that.
Hey, look. I just celebrated 49 years in Alcoholics Anonymous with no drink. If he came back after 10 years, maybe consider him after 10 years of sobriety. But even then, it's kind of questionable.
Yeah.
Yes, no, you're right, Henry. Yeah, you're right because relapse is part of recovery.
But
I have to
Not
admit
in
it.
not in my case, it's not. Not in my case.
No, okay, but anyway, I agree with what Henry just said. Uh, it's as far as alcohol addiction goes.
well,
Well,
you're making an assumption that he's an addict. That has never been the case.
yeah, that's
Of course
true.
Alcoholics
he's
are
an addict.
addicts.
If you try to keep up your
Alcoholics are addicts by definition. In case you didn't know that,
What was
What?
that?
Wait, what? What, Henry?
alcoholics are addicts by definition. They're just addicted to alcohol rather than heroin or fentanyl or crack.
yeah.
But
Yes,
no one's making the claim that he was addicted to alcohol.
Well, he obviously was. Yeah,
No.
an alcoholic is someone who has a history that's caused them difficulty, problems, and trouble. And he clearly, if he had to be restrained from getting on the stage with strippers by his colleagues, he's got a problem with alcohol.
Well, then half of the senators and Congress people are alcoholics.
Well, that's not doesn't judge that
That's
doesn't justify it.
I'm glad you finally admitted that.
I can't.
right. Well, wait, can we say hi to Kent?
I can't.
I can't.
Hello,
I can-
I apologize for being late.
Yeah.
I can hit my head against a brick wall because I'm late.
Do it,
Well,
do it.
tell us how
do it.
you've been doing.
I've been
How,
doing fine. Continue the conversation.
well, tell us what your experience of the fire was, because we're going to quit in a few minutes.
No problems with me and my family, fortunately.
Oh, good.
How about you, Bill?
No, we're fine.
Good.
Yeah,
Everyone,
Anne is the one who's experienced it, and Henry had to leave, and Kathy had to leave.
what
No,
happened? What
Kathy's
happened
here.
to
Peggy had to leave.
No, I
what
mean
happened
their
to
homes.
Ann?
Evacuate.
Oh, oh,
Yeah, Peggy said goodbye. She had to go to physical therapy for her.
oh, I see.
Okay, what was anyone injured?
No.
Good. Was anyone's house damaged?
Not
No,
here.
Damaged
thankfully.
relatives, yes.
Okay. Go
Not
on
this.
with the conversation now. You don't even
Well, we were,
remember where you were.
We were talking about certain people who are being nominated for
Right.
office.
Okay, I was listening in.
I'd
yeah,
like to
I
suggest,
think
and
Danny was talking about it last.
yeah, it was an immature apples and oranges, just to
you know,
to rattle Bill because Bill he can take it. Bill can
I'd like
take
to
it.
suggest that we don't discuss politics. I
Oh
mean,
no, Kathy, it's so fun.
oh,
So,
Uh,
okay,
Well,
got it.
Kathy, can I tell you why I like to? Because honest to God, talking to Bill, I learn a lot. And I mean everything where I live in Berkeley, so polarized. No one talk. I mean, you can't, and I don't want to kind of. So these Zooms are my only opportunity to talk to someone who is, a Republican, and and then I understand why he feels the way he does.
Right.
I
And that
agree. I agree with Danny, because yeah, there's very few people that I can listen to hear their viewpoint without feeling like I'm imposing on them. And so thank you, Bill, for your opinions.
oh, you bet. And I think that's, I think when Gail put this group together was kind of to be the reflection of people who have lived for how many decades, 8 decades or something, and how can that be fruitful to pass on knowledge or opinions to a younger generation? And I think one of the things that our younger generation lacks at this point in time is the ability to rationally discuss differences of opinion, especially when it comes to politics. There's a lot of surveys that back that up. So that's why I'm more than willing to discuss it. And um, I half the world disagrees with me, but that's fine.
That's
You
what
know.
makes it interesting. Ginny Hertzfeld, Ginny Johnston, and I walk once a week, every week, Wednesday morning, and they only listen to Fox News and they only vote Republican. And so I like talking to her because then I don't have to listen to Fox News to see what their message is.
What a
You
cop
listen
out.
to you listen to the propaganda channel then.
Which one?
You know,
Um,
Bill,
NBC.
Yeah, and BBC and CNN. So I think it's a if we're mature adults, we can talk about ideas and base, as Bill said, on facts and find it stimulating and interesting, whatever. Kathy, before we go, just tell us about this is totally different topic, but your travels. You've been to Paris, Mexico. You've been all over in the last couple of years.
Yes, came home from India just before Thanksgiving, which was incredibly fascinating on so many levels. Um, and as I said, I'm going to go on the jazz cruise for the 22nd year in a row, except for we missed a year during the pandemic. But, my husband's passion was jazz. And of course, he started the Vail Jazz Festival 31 years ago, and we continue. We're going to have our 31st Jazz Festival again. I was just on a Zoom meeting this morning about how we're going to raise enough money to be able to do it. But we are. I just know we are. And our workshop is celebrating its 30th anniversary, and we have something like 30 Grammy winners who have gone through our workshop. So I'm going on the jazz cruise to see some of my alums and to see some of the artists that have performed. So it's
As
like,
I remember, you're not even a jazz aficionado. It's not your
no,
music.
I never have been. No.
Good for you for being such a good devoted wife and patron of the arts.
Well, I think that all art is to be appreciated and valued, whether it's my preference or not. I still can admire the talent and the commitment that these musicians make towards the
Right.
art to keep it going.
Yeah, Anne is a big patron of that for sure.
Absolutely.
Um,
I'm thinking of I was thinking of a topic that would be interesting for us to discuss. Maybe the next thing that just struck my mind is our young folks who have such a different take on communication than we do, like we're doing right now. Everything is has nothing to do with reality. It's all virtual stuff, and I'm just wondering how our young people are doing handling real life, real,
depressed.
huggy experiences, and the stuff that we took for granted. That's so nice. I feel like we've lost that with all this stuff that's going on now. I don't know how people even date. I see so many kids dating each other. You can tell that it's their first or second date. What are they doing? They're both
Yep.
individuals on their thing. I mean, there's
Does
no
anybody have any
there.
grandkids who would come on with us the next Zoom? Danny,
Well, I think that's a great idea that
yeah.
Anne just, I don't know if my grandchildren would do that, but I think it's great, Anne, your suggestion. And just if I can say it real quickly, like our reality that we grew up in. Well, here's a quick example. My older son, he, I was going to, anyway, he doesn't believe Israel should exist, that there's not a need for it anymore. And anyway, and so I just realized that, see, when I was young, Israel's very existence was constantly threatened, constantly threatened. But then, anyway, so he sees reality completely different than I do when it comes to, say, Israel and politics. But that's just one example. The other is yeah, they're at a restaurant on a date and they're not talking to each other. They're
Yeah,
doing this. It's, and so I think it would be a valuable
Okay.
topic.
Let's ask if I have a 14-year-old grandson. I'll ask him. Maybe I'll pay him. Well,
it'll have to be on a weekend or on an evening, of course, because of school.
yeah,
A lot
okay.
of these,
All
Oh,
right.
yeah.
and
Let's work on that. That's a great idea, Ann.
yeah, even kids that are in their 20s, I would count as a kid these days.
All right.
How is their communication different than what we went through, which seemed so pure and innocent. So
Mhm. Well, like I say, there's an anxiety, depression, mental health epidemic among young people, especially girls. I've been working on that. So, okay, thank you, and keep in touch. We'll talk in February and hit up your grandkids.
Okay, thank
Bye,
you. Thank
everyone.
you.
Happy year of the
Thank
wood
you.
snake.
yeah, let's
Here,
make it a
everyone.
happy year.